Hi, I'm Andy Wynn. I'm here with Maurits van Tol. Maurits is the CTO of Johnson Matthey, the £14 billion industrial giant, part of the FTSE 100 on the London Stock Exchange. And we're here talking about how to manage a business to unlock innovation. So welcome, Maurits.
Great pleasure to be here, Andy. Thank you.
You know, Maurits, we've talked a number of times, so I know a little about your career. I know you've held a number of senior technology and business roles in various other large corporations. I know you started in DSM, and then in the Borealis Group, and now CTO in JM.
Yeah, correct.
And so from our discussions, I know, like myself, you've seen technology and innovation from both sides of the fence. So from one point of view of having responsibility to create new technologies and products, but also at other times responsibility to deliver them to market and grow business. So you must have faced many challenges and situations along that way that have helped you to learn how best to manage a business to allow innovation to flourish and to add value.
Yeah, of course. Like yourself, we all realize when you're in this profession, innovation is not for the faint-hearted. It's because it's just difficult to bring new things to the market, new technology platforms, new products. Many will fail. Many ideas will not make it to the market. And if you then get all depressed, then you will not do an awful lot better next time. It's much better to then think about it and reflect a little bit and try to find every time new ways of getting innovation to the next level. That's a little bit how I do it. And it's also experimenting, being courageous to experiment with new approaches. Yeah. And then, you know, find a kind of a secret recipe that works for you. Also recognizing the different culture, the different company you work for. Yeah, it's hard work. You need to have a lot of passion in this profession.
That's why I always enjoy talking to you, Maurits, because I feel the passion. I feel the passion. I know also that we share a belief that managing a business and managing innovation in particular requires a practical, a focused and a disciplined approach. And that's what we've talked before about. We collaborated together in, there was a section in my last book, Cracking the Innovation Code. And I know that you've kind of developed this 5-point approach to summarize it. And so I know that many business leaders out there would gain value from listening to these 5 points. Because I know I have. So I know your first point is about leadership, isn't it, Maurits?
Yeah, it's I always call it the tone from the top. It's about the CEO and the CTO teaming up and radiating the same message that innovation technology is important. And then, of course, also walk the talk and help the implementation of new ideas all the way through the market together. And maybe as an icebreaker, a short anecdote. When I was this young R&D person joining my first company, you have all these introductory meetings with senior leadership, and one senior businessman, very successful already at a very young age, he gave a presentation and he said, you know, why marketing sales is so important in the business and why legal is so important, and finance. And then he came to R&D and he said, well, you know, R&D for me is driving a Mercedes out of the window every day. So that was very interesting to hear as a young R&D talent. And believe it or not, years later, I'm in front of my first VP job, VP of R&D and innovation in his business. And I worked with him when I ran some businesses with him, for him, so in the commercial side of things. But then he asked me to do this job, and I said, listen, you know, I remember what you said when I just joined the company. You gave this presentation, and I talked about it with him, and he said, yeah, I'll remember. And I'll tell you why, because I wanted to know, why did you say that? And he said, listen, many of the CTOs, R&D leaders, innovation leaders I worked with in my career, it was impossible for me to form a bond.
Okay.
Because they were techies and he was commercial, and it just didn't work. And I had this background, and I was the opportunity to also do commercial roles, and we discussed about it. And that is maybe a tip that I can give to people that want to have a CTO, CIO role somewhere in their career. Do a stint, a reasonable a stint in marketing and sales in the commercial side of things. You learn the language, you know how difficult it sometimes is in front of the customer, and to bring new ideas, new products, also extract more value out of the market. It's not very easy. So, and then you can build bridges later on in your career and form this strong bond also with the CEO. So, yeah.
Great anecdote. Makes me reflect on some of the things in the past for me as well. We've all sat there in one form or another.
Yeah.
I know your point number 2 is about working within organizational structures.
Yeah, that was a very good discussion you and I had. We reflected on what would be the best R&D or innovation structure. Is there something like that, organizational structure? And we came to the conclusion, I came to the conclusion, no, there isn't. I've worked in organizations where R&D was fully centralized, in organizations where none was central, it was all in the business units, and in hybrid situations where you have both corporate and business R&D, and they can all work. And reflecting upon it, it is about recognizing where are the important interfaces, learn to manage those interfaces. So interface management is really very important. Mm-hmm. And also making sure that the key people in the R&D function, the innovation function, get together and form a kind of a group that has a same mission. Mm-hmm. And when that is clear and we all go for it, this organizational structure, how it's set up, doesn't matter anymore.
Sure, yeah. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. I know your point number 3 is around project portfolios and the need to focus down.
Yeah, when I go into a company, I try to learn what's the company strategy, where does the company want to go, what are the growth objectives, and how can innovation and technology contribute. That means, do I recognize in the innovation technology portfolio, is that a reflection of, does it bring the company, will it bring the company where it wants to go? And so that's where it starts. In many companies where technology is very important, there is so much talent. I see it at Johnson Matthey. It's unbelievable what kind of technical talent we have. Mm-hmm. So there is almost no problem you couldn't tackle and no competence you couldn't excel in. Amazing. But of course, then you dilute your resources if you don't focus. So what we try to do here is really make sure to spend time on defining what are the winning technology platforms that bring Johnson Matthey, the company you work for, to that next level. And I think that focus is really important. And there's companies that even go so far that they have selected 1 or 2 competences or technology platforms for a multi-billion business. And they've said, we only do those 2, but we do them really well. Really, really well. And we build thousands of products based on those technologies. And they're very successful for a very long time, sometimes hundreds of years. So that means it's hard to focus because there's so much you can do. Yeah. It's so essential that you focus so that you can go for it.
Yeah, and I know you're that focusing on the portfolio to a limited number of projects. That moves into your point number 4, and there's this phrase that you taught me. It was, what was it? Relentless discipline and execution.
Yes, relentless discipline and execution. Why is that important, I believe? Once you have made this selection for a relatively small number of technologies or products platforms you want to develop, you better make sure you give them all you got to make sure that they are successful, because you don't have many in reserve, so to speak. So in that sense, what I try to do is, no matter what the organizational structure is, even if a technology platform is only important for one business unit, but it will be so big from a turnover operating profit point of view for the company, that we set up a steering committee that consists of senior executives, not only from that business unit, but from all throughout the company. Either they're selected because they are good challenges, helpful challenges, or that on the customer side, they work with OEMs where also this platform could be deployed. And you want to learn how to work together in the piloting phase with such a prospect, for example, or a senior executive leading a function where it can be intellectual property, it can be legal, whatever, where there could be some struggles, where you say, I want to have the top woman or man in my steering committee to make sure that you can help remove the hurdles. Be the oil in the machine is the main function of the steerco. So that means also that the third thing that I then do is, program management and project management is a profession. You cannot give these very important programs to just anyone who's available. It is, in particular for those key technology programs that are so important, crucial for the future of the company, you need to make appointments of people that are very courageous, for example, have a broad background, can build bridges, good EQ, but also that they are very courageous, because they need to go to the steering committee and ask for help, or say, in your function, the collaboration doesn't work, I don't get the right priority, resource quality, whatever it is. They need to dare to speak up in front of all these senior executives. And that takes a lot of courage. So the quality of your program manager is really very important as well. And then you can drive the development of your technology, of your application, whatever you're developing, you can drive it forward with sufficient resources and drive, and with help throughout the organization, removing the hurdles when they appear.
And I think your point on the importance of project or program managers brings us nicely into point 5, which is about accountability.
Yeah, accountability for innovation delivery, or the return on innovation of a company, I think needs to be crystal clear. So what I like is, I always say, when there is a success in a project or a program, go to the project and program manager and celebrate with the team. Yeah. When there are some difficulties or of whatever kind, I think it's also important, for example, for the board of a company, that they know where to go to, who is in the end accountable for innovation delivery. And in the case of Johnson Matthey, that is me, and that is just helpful, because I can then try to help remove hurdles, adjust whatever it is throughout the company. And they all know where to go to when things are tougher, or when there is remarks how to improve kind of things. And I think it's also very nice to, probably essential in a technology firm, to have the technology function represented in the top team, in the executive committee, because in a technology company, people want to see, that someone's taking care of the technology profession, the career ladders, and what have you, the opportunities in the company for technology. When technology is really important in the company, you should see that reflected in the top team. Yeah.
Makes a lot of sense. I mean, that's fantastic, Maurits. Whenever I listen to your top 5 practical approach, it always makes me reflect about my own career in innovation and business. And it has certainly helped me since we've spoken about it, and it's made me think about some of the work we do in TTIP with businesses around the world. And I'm very sure that there's a lot of business leaders in lots of diverse sectors who will gain a lot from your experiences and your approach, and take a lot of value from that. So thank you for your time. Thank you for speaking to us, Maurits.
It was a pleasure, Andy. Thank you.